Bump, 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 bump. NFL season returns. With it, what is going to happen to American money as they begin to bet more and more on fantasy sports? DraftKings and FanDuel both are expecting positive growth this season. I imagine they have. In fact, let's just go ahead and straight look at the numbers, guys. This is incredible. Sports betting check-ins jumped 77% for opening night. How many people will bet on the 2022 NFL season? Its return. We're past week one already. I know all of my friends on Facebook, at least, and they're not necessarily close friends, but a lot of people are into the NFL season, checking in and talking about all the different things they're wanting to see happen this NFL season. In fact, my pastor at the church is actually a former NFL player, so I hear it from them as well. At church, they put the Monday Night Football games on after the men's meetings. I've seen this even at church. People are talking about football, but what comes with football is this little side action nobody wants to talk about, is how men and women across the country are going to be compelled through the culture that is sports gambling to bet on sports. And yes, playing fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy sports, is gambling. The IRS believes so, and so do I. Here is your statistics on this video. The American Gaming Association estimates that 46 million Americans will bet on the 2022 NFL season. That's nearly 15% of Americans. Whoa. Up from about 5% 3 years ago, with the legalization of sports gambling being removed in 2019, and now states doing it on a state-by-state level. Over 30 states now have legalized sports gambling in some form or fashion within their state borders, and it is drawing lots and lots of revenue to these states. We'll talk more about that in a moment. This increase is 3% from the prior season. 23 million plan on betting online. So this is all on our apps. This is going to be done through our phones. Whether you're at the stadium or you're watching at home, all of these places are going to allow you to bet online, including fantasy sports. It says in 2022, 50.4 billion, oh my gosh, has already been bet on sports with U.S.-based sports books. It used to be that the only places you could bet was in Las Vegas, and you could do some parlays in Delaware and things, but Las Vegas averaged about $500 million during NFL season. We're at 50 billion in the 3 years since it's been legalized. Quite the drastic change. And so whose money is that? Well, it's not the casino's money. They're not handing out $50 billion. No, they're taking in $50 billion. So that's coming out of the hard-earned pockets of people like you and me and sports fans everywhere who have been encouraged to bet on sports. The NFL is one of the largest bet on sports of the year. Now can see a new influx of users from new states, and that is because legalizations have now passed in different states in the last year. So now this NFL season is the first time for so many people that they're going to be able to sit down and get on their phones or get on a website or call up their bookie and say, hey, I want to make a bet on my favorite team or my favorite player or just whoever I think is the best. Or in even so many other cases, you're just going to get drawn into the world of online fantasy sports, which is really, it is something, isn't it? The lucrative and growing fantasy sports. We'll look at this. This is from sportsmanagementdegreehub.com. They did a study on fantasy football and things, and I wanted to highlight some things that I saw here. DraftKings and FanDuel are among the top 5 spenders in TV ads. And they're also, in another article I saw, also like podcast ads and things like this. So you see them anywhere you go. Top 5 spenders. So the one of the top 5 things being sold to you in this country, well, we know number one is pharmacy, right? We all know the pharmacy ads, right? You've seen a million of them. This is what it can do, and this is all the side effects it'll have. Well, I wish these FanDuel commercials would have the side effects. Now, they do say a little sentence at the very end, gamble responsibly. They'll say that in their ads, right? But the first 29 seconds of the ad will be like, win $5,000 on today's ad because you're going to be able to bet your favorite team and free $100 free play. And they're going to sell you, Scott H. from New Hampshire won $10 million playing FanDuel, right? You're going to hear all those ads. You're going to hear them over and over and over again. You're going to see them if you're watching Hulu with ads. You're going to see them if you're on cable TV. You're going to see them on your phone. If you're just scrolling through, Facebook or Instagram, you're going to see sponsored ads for FanDuel. You're going to see them in your podcast. You're going to hear them sponsoring your favorite shows. This is going to be nonstop in your face. So even if you've never bet sports before, even if no one you know has bet sports before, any minute now, that's going to change because the culture's changing. The culture is saying it's okay now to bet on sports. Even the sports leagues, who for so long were saying, don't bet on the sports, it's going to change the integrity of the game, and they're saying, no, our players make too much money now. There's no way they would cheat to win. Well, we've seen different stories of things like that, obviously, where people have been caught gambling on the sport that they play. So that's not entirely true. It doesn't matter how much money you make, people are going to be drawn to this. This article talks about the revenue booms in Q2 of last year. I mean, 1.42 billion increase. It's increased over 58% from last year, the revenue of sports gambling. So it's going up and up and up, and it's not even in a short clip. We're not talking about inflation numbers where it's maybe 5, 10, 8, 10, 12%. We're talking about a market that went from $500 million to now we're talking about $50 billion in just a matter of years. And it's not incrementally going up, it's going up by spades, because all these different states and 330 plus million Americans who have never gambled on sports before, or have done it rarely because maybe they went out to Las Vegas and made a bet, or maybe some people have some bookies and they were doing it illegally. But now the legalization of it has opened it up to everybody, and the world is telling you it's okay, and the ads on TV are telling you it's okay. So I don't want anybody to get caught up in the NFL season thinking that it's okay to get into fantasy sports and that's not going to affect my life, and I'm just playing $20 today and it's no big deal, because you play $20 today, you might play $20 tomorrow, and eventually you're going to find yourself in a spot where you're trying to chase after it. Look, man, a former problem gambler, 10-year addiction. I played fantasy sports. I tried to convince myself it wasn't gambling. I was wrong. What I do know is that whether you're betting on a game itself, you're betting on an over-under, you're betting on a point spread, or you're betting on daily fantasy, you're putting yourself in a risk category, not only to lose the money that you put up, but put yourself in a risk for addiction, put yourself in a risk to lose your family, your life. Suicide rates among gambling addicts are very high. All of these things can happen because you thought it was okay because the TV told me, bet on FanDuel. Scott H won $10 million. You can be next. Listen, those advertisements are meant to get you hooked into this. And I don't want to see that happen in your life. If you look here at the statistics, look at this. I mean, look at how much money they're talking about bringing in. So New York, which legalized sports gambling just several months ago. And by the way, I was talking to the company, one of the groups that does gambling counseling in New York City. They said that their call center is up 8,000%. 8,000% since gambling has been legalized in New York, of people crying out for help, saying, hey, I've got a problem. I can't stop. I need to get help. How do I do it? 8,000%. New York, it leads the nation in the amount of betting handles, it says. What that means is how much money is coming in and out, right? So not necessarily what the revenue was, but how much money is being transferred between sports bettor and the company that's taking the bet. So $1 billion just in New York alone, 50 states, we're talking about $50 billion. New Jersey in second. New Jersey was obviously the state that was behind opening up sports legalization nationwide. Chris Christie, spent $8 million of taxpayer money to fight and get this law repeal from 92 that allowed sports betting to be legalized nationwide if your state allows it. And boy, that $8 million really did turn into something. Now, Chris Christie was also said that he didn't want sports betting to be around to make this kind of money. He said this was just for the occasional sports bettor to be able to have an opportunity to spend $20 at the bar with their friends. Well, let me see, $63 million divided by 20. I don't think that that's enough people. That's more than the population of your state. So I think the people are spending more than $20 a person in New Jersey to gamble on sports, fantasy, or otherwise. So I just want to encourage you guys, the NFL season is upon us, but it does not have to be upon you. I would encourage you to stay away from the NFL fantasy sports, FanDuel, DraftKings. They're going to be bombarding you with ads. Turn those ads off. If you've got friends, loved ones, family members who are really into fantasy sports, encourage them to not let it become a gambling addiction problem for them. Make sure you invite them to ask questions. You just say, hey, what kind of money are you spending on this? Open up a dialogue maybe that allows you to encourage them. And just watch yourself. You don't necessarily, just confronting someone like that is difficult, right? So you just want to encourage them, say, hey, look, that's a lot of money you're spending, are you thinking about what happens if you lose it and all? You just start a dialogue that way that they know that you're someone who's on their side. You're not necessarily telling them, hey, you need to stop it or you're going to burn in hell. Like, that's not the message I'm trying to send here. But what I am trying to say is that bad things can happen if you start. You don't want to get in that snowball method. In the NFL season, it's going to be upon us, and the culture of this country is going to encourage you to keep betting no matter what. No matter what you've lost. You're not a real sports fan unless you bet on a game. You bought the jersey, you bought the hat, now buy buy the ticket to gamble on the team. So we don't want to mess that up for ourselves when we get ourselves in a position where we just are doing it every week. We're spending, I think one of these, in fact, talks about how many hours people spend on their phone doing online fantasy sports. This is an interesting statistic, right? So it's, if I can find it here, 9 hours a week. You can see here, 9 hours a week, average time spent consuming fantasy sports. So imagine you took 9 hours out of your week, 9 hours away from your time with your kids. You took 9 hours away from your work. You took 9 hours away from your sleep. Pick your category because you're looking at fantasy sports, and that has nothing to do with whether or not you're even betting on it. That's just, and so I imagine if you're betting on it, especially a daily site, you might be spending even more time. You're spending time researching. You're spending time picking your players. You're spending time looking at reports. You're looking at the scores. You're looking at the stats. You're looking at all these things. Then, of course, you got to watch the game, and you got to get prepared for the game, and you got to, what are you doing after the game? And so you're spending a lot of time focusing on this, and now you're looking at your whole of your life. Like, is your purpose to be betting on daily sports? Like, is the NFL season, is that the purpose of your life, to focus on what these players are doing in a game? Or is your life meant for something else, and this is just something you're doing part-time for fun? Those are questions you got to ask yourself, but I want to encourage you today that if you do have a problem, reach out. There's plenty of organizations and programs that can help someone who's dealing with a problem. We'll link them in the description below as always, but I want to encourage you that if you have this issue, pray and ask God to help you with it, because I believe that he can deliver you from any addiction, any problem, any struggle, any strife, as he did for me so many years ago. So I want to encourage you guys. Thanks for watching today's video. If this has been a blessing to you, or you want to encourage it by sharing it with someone who has sports gambling conversation, maybe it's something they like to do, I would encourage you to share it with them. Let them know that there are places out there, people who are talking about this, letting them know that this is not the end. This is not the end of your life if you feel like it's gone downhill. There is more to your future than betting on sports and maybe the problems that have come from it. Encourage anyone who is betting on sports, watch out what you're doing. They are coming after you. They're trying to take your money. They're trying to take your livelihood. They're trying to take your future, and I don't want you to lose it. I want you to have God's unique and special plan for your future. You can get it. Don't let this be a hindrance to you. If it is, there are ways to get help and ways to get out of it, and I want to encourage you to find them. Until next time, guys, I pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.